Steel Ball Run was an amazing experience to read. Watching Johnny and Gyro's adventure across America as they tried to accomplish both their unique goals as well as their joint goal of collecting the corpse pieces was very invigorating. On their journey across the country, they encountered many enemies and tough situations. One of the toughest and most confusing situations for both the characters and the readers was the Who Shot Johnny Joestar mystery. And no, I'm not talking about the guy who initially paralyzed Johnny outside the theater. I've seen a lot of people confused about this scenario, so I'm going to attempt to explain it as best as I can. If you do have any questions about Who Shot Johnny Joestar, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. Like Johnny was shot by the yet unexplained gunman, you too can replicate this by using your mouse and shooting that subscribe button to keep up to date with chapter reviews, stand analysis videos, and various other Jojo content when they become available. Part 1. Setting the scene. Now then, let's get to the main attraction. Who Shot Johnny Joestar? The main suspects are Wekapipo, Diego Brando, and Funny Valentine. The main witnesses are the girls in the playground, the boys in the playground, and the painter. The shooting of Johnny Joestar takes place over the arcs that Funny Valentine begins to showcase the techniques of his stand, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, or D4C for short. These arcs are the Chocolate Disco arc as well as the beginning of the D4C arc. D4C's techniques are at the core of this mystery, so before we begin explaining who shot Johnny, first we need to set the scene by briefly diving into D4C's initially showcased abilities and the location and time frame. The location is Philadelphia, right next to the Independence Hall, and the time is 3:59 in the afternoon. Whilst tracking Diego Brando, Johnny and Gyro spot 3 young boys and a dog, 2 young girls with a baby, and a painter in the park near the Independence Hall. They also notice Wekapipo nearby, who they had previously entrusted the task of finding Lucy Steele to earlier in the series. Whilst going off to check out Diego's horse, Gyro gets approached by an enemy stand user named Disco, as Funny Valentine also attempts to sneak up on Gyro from behind, showcasing his stand D4C out in the open. Suddenly, Johnny is shot by an unknown assailant covered in shadow, which the boys, the girls, and the painter all witness. Part 2. D4C's initial ability. Now we've set the scene of the shooting, let's briefly discuss D4C's initial ability. I say initial because Araki altered its technique slightly as the arc went on. Basically, it is able to manipulate parallel worlds. This allows Funny Valentine to traverse to parallel worlds and fully interact with its inhabitants. A parallel world is an alternate version of the current world. The current world is where every event so far has taken place up to this point, and it's the one and only version of this world where the Saint's corpse exists, therefore it is known as the root world or the base world. However, for this video we'll refer to it as the root world. There are a countless amount of alternate versions of the root world that Funny Valentine can manipulate, and initially he uses his ability to completely merge multiple alternate worlds together, aligning their timelines together perfectly. He explains this action by using sponges as an analogy. His ability allows him to merge 2 identical sponges together, aligning the gaps in the sponges with each other. The gaps symbolize time and space, which means that the events that transpire in both merged worlds will be happening at the same time and in the same place. Think of it as 2 alternate realities running adjacent to each other at the exact same time, where the same thing happens at the same time and place in both. However, instead of having both worlds' timelines run adjacent to each other, he brings them together and can manipulate these timelines at will and alter them by performing various actions. To put it a bit more simply, multiple alternate realities of the root world are merged and blurred together, meaning aspects of them will cross over. The inhabitants of the currently aligned worlds cannot differentiate what is transpiring in their own world or whether they are currently in the alternate world or not. Of course, at this point, none of the characters knew of Valentine's ability, making them all even more blind as to what is happening. If you want more detailed information on Funny Valentine's stand D4C, I have a separate video discussing and analysing the stand in more detail. I highly recommend checking it out as it will most likely help you understand the Who Shot Johnny Joestar mystery a little more. The link will be in the description on this video down below if you want to check it out. Part 3. The main suspects. There are 3 main suspects to this mystery. However, first of all, let us discuss who was in the vicinity at the time of the shooting. We have Johnny Joestar, Gyro Zeppeli, Disco, Wekapipo, Diego Brando, Funny Valentine, and of course the 3 boys, 2 girls, and the painter in the park. We saw the parties that currently inhabit the park witness the shooting from a distance. That makes them witnesses rather than suspects, so we can cross them off. Johnny was the one who was shot, obviously meaning he is not a suspect. Gyro was shown in the distance and has no motive to shoot his friend, and Disco was busy approaching Gyro in an attempt to distract him away from the shooting incident. This leaves Wekapipo, Diego, and Valentine. The different parties in the park each confirm that they witnessed a different suspect perform the shooting. This leaves us with our 3 main suspects. Part 4. The Witnesses. As I just said, the main witnesses of this crime were showcased when the shooting happened. The 3 young boys, the 2 young girls, as well as the painter all witnessed the shooting. When Gyro approaches the group later on, they all claim they are individual parties and they are not associated with each other in any way, which rules out any childish jokey answers or pranks between friends. First off, we have the 2 young girls who were babysitting their baby brother. They tell Gyro it was Wekapipo that they witnessed shoot Johnny. Okay, so that's our first witness account. Secondly, we have the 3 young boys who were playing football together. These boys recount seeing a different person, whom they allude to being the British Diego Brando. Both of these groups point to the photos held by Gyro, and they get into an argument because they genuinely believe that the other party are lying about who they saw shoot the weapon. The third witness, the painter, approaches Gyro with a sketch he performed of the assailant, and this sketch is of the president himself, Funny Valentine. All 3 witnesses provide a different answer, creating the mystery of who shot Johnny Joestar. Part 5. Wekapipo's account. We as the readers go back in time back to 4:05 PM, just before the shooting, where Wekapipo witnesses Gyro removing himself from his horse. At this time, Wekapipo notices Diego Brando and decides to follow him. In an alleyway very close to the location of the shooting, he finds a gun. Out of the American flag from behind him came a hidden figure who attacked him using an arm of D4C. We are led to believe that this is Funny Valentine. Wekapipo stuns the assailant with his left side ataxia technique and fires multiple shots with the gun at the stunned attacker. Suddenly, he realizes it was in fact Johnny Joestar that he had shot. Johnny uses Act 3 of his stand Tusk to escape into the storm drain next to him. This shooting was witnessed by the 2 girls in the park, but there was no sign of the boys or the painter noticing the shooting. It is clear that Wekapipo did indeed shoot Johnny Joestar, and there can be no arguments on that whatsoever. It's an indisputable fact that the man known as Johnny Joestar was indeed shot multiple times by Wekapipo, and this was witnessed and testified by the girls. However, this was not the Johnny Joestar from the Root World. Whilst Funny and Disco approached Gyro on the street corner, an alternate world version of Funny Valentine with D4C attacked Wekapipo in the alleyway. Because the alternate worlds were already merged together at this point, they began blurring into each other. This means Wekapipo had unknowingly entered an alternate version of the Root World. We'll refer to the world Wekapipo enters as Alternate World 1. In Alternate World 1, aspects of the Root World and other alternate worlds were colliding all at one time, meaning that a version of Funny Valentine was still currently approaching Gyro whilst Wekapipo fought off another version of Valentine here in the alleyway. In Alternate World 1, Wekapipo had acquired the gun, shot at the assailant believed to be Valentine, and at the last second, even though this version of Valentine was affected by left side ataxia, he managed to manipulate Alternate World 1 and place Wekapipo in front of an alternate world Johnny Joestar. It's possible Valentine slightly shifted the merged worlds to alter Wekapipo's position. Root World Wekapipo had traversed into Alternate World 1 earlier on, shot the Alternate World 1 Johnny Joestar, but unbeknownst to them, the 2 girls in the playground had also been transported to Alternate World 1 at the same time, and witnessed the shooting. All of this took place within an 8-minute time frame. So we now have Wekapipo's account, and yes, he is the culprit of the shooting in Alternate World 1. However, we need to know who shot the Root World Johnny. Even if every alternate world version of Johnny gets killed, the only one who can stop Valentine's plans of collecting all the corpse pieces is the Root World Johnny, making him the most important version of himself. So let's move on to the next suspect and try to determine who actually shot the main Johnny Joestar. Part 6. Diego Brando's account. We go back in time yet again to 4:05 PM. At the same time that Wekapipo is watching Gyro remove himself from his horse to inspect Diego's horse, Diego actually removes himself from his horse right near to the Independence Hall. It turns out that the horse Gyro goes to inspect is in fact not Diego's horse. This leaves Gyro in an awkward position whilst Diego carries on riding towards the Independence Hall 400 meters to the north. This is when Wekapipo spots Diego and attempts to follow him, as was explained in his account previously. The root world Diego takes down one of the president's guards and dons his uniform to infiltrate the Independence Hall. Inside, a version of President Valentine passes Diego. This is most likely the root world version of Valentine, as later on in President Valentine's account that we'll get to shortly, he states, "So you've come after me, Dio," indicating that he knows Dio followed him from the Independence Hall. This means that the Valentine approaching Gyro is an alternate world version. D4C can transport between versions of Valentine at will, so it's possible D4C existed on the Valentine approaching Gyro for a split second to confuse Johnny into thinking it was the real Valentine, but then it quickly transported to the other alternate world version of Valentine that is fighting Wekapipo, so that Wekapipo can see the arms of D4C, indicating that that may in fact be the real Valentine. However, it then probably quickly shifted back to the real Valentine without Johnny or Wekapipo's knowledge, allowing for what happens in President Valentine's account to transpire. Diego enters the same alleyway that Root World Wekapipo found the gun in during his account. In Diego's account here, we again see Wekapipo grab the gun in the same alleyway. However, this is an alternate world version of Wekapipo. This is going on at the exact same time that the Root World Wekapipo is picking up the gun whilst he currently resides within his alternate world 1. So at the exact same moment, Root World Wekapipo is in alternate world 1 and Diego is currently in alternate world 2, staring down alternate world 2 Wekapipo. We know that this is an alternate world Wekapipo as he turns the gun upwards toward Diego, rather than behind him onto the attacking Valentine, like what happens in Wekapipo's account. This means at this moment in time, 2 battles are ongoing, and we have the account of 2 versions of Wekapipo and potentially 3 versions of Funny Valentine. The Root World Wekapipo is fighting a version of Funny, whilst the Root World Diego is fighting an alternate version of Wekapipo. And this is all taking place at the exact same time in the exact same place. Remember, the alternate worlds currently merged with the root world are all blurring together, unknowingly being accessed at various times by the suspects due to Valentine's will. It is at this point that the American flag comes into play, similar to what happened within Wekapipo's account. These events happen almost the exact same as what happened in Alternate World 1 with Wekapipo, except there are some slight differences. Diego is the one who ends up with the gun, and Diego shoots Wekapipo, yet it seems to have yet again been Johnny Joestar that was shot. Valentine's manipulation of the alternate worlds obviously affected Diego as well, putting him right in front of Johnny Joestar just like what happened with Wekapipo. This time, however, it was Alternate World 2 Johnny Joestar, and this action was witnessed by another alternate version of Wekapipo. We can assume that this was Alternate World 1 version of Wekapipo, as he was nowhere in sight during Root World Wekapipo's accounts in Alternate World 1. After Alternate World 2 Johnny escapes into the storm drain, that means that 2 versions of Johnny have been shot by 2 different people, and escaped into the storm drain in the same way. This time, the shooting was seen by the Root World group of boys who had been transported into Alternate World 2 very briefly to witness the shooting, and then after the shooting, Diego and the boys are transported back to the Root World. The Alternate World 2 artist and group of girls did not witness the event. So far, the Root World girls witnessed Johnny getting shot within Alternate World 1 by Wekapipo, and the Root World boys witnessed Johnny getting shot within Alternate World 2 by Diego Brando. The Root World Diego definitely shot Johnny Joestar, there is no doubt about that, but it was not the Root World Johnny. Diego unknowingly blurs back into the Root World where he reconvenes with the Root World Wekapipo, and they both end up going face to face with the Root World President Valentine a little bit later on. This is why when both Wekapipo and Diego are talking about who shot Johnny Joestar, they both confirm that they themselves shot Johnny, they did not witness each other shooting Johnny. Now if you're following along, that just leaves one more main suspect. Part 7, Funny Valentine's account. Flashback yet again to the past, but this time to 410. 5 minutes earlier, Wekapipo and Diego are entering the various blurred alternate versions of the Root World as shown in their accounts earlier. Wekapipo is about to fight a version of Funny Valentine in the alleyway in Alternate World 1, whilst Diego is about to fight Alternate World 2 Wekapipo in the same alleyway. At the same time, an alternate world version of Valentine is approaching Gyro, with D4C previously on show. However, D4C is no longer being shown behind this version of Valentine, indicating that, by this point, it had already jumped over to the alternate version of Valentine fighting Wekapipo in the alleyway. It is then transported quickly back to the root world Valentine so he can use his ability to enter between the horses. President Valentine's account takes place entirely in the root world. As he uses his power to skulk between the two horses to get a good shot off on Johnny, the alternate world version of Valentine approaching Gyro hides behind a tree, as his role in this game of Valentines is now complete as Johnny is fully distracted. Also, D4C had already transported back over to the root world Valentine, leaving that alternate world version approaching Johnny now utterly powerless, giving more reason to him suddenly hiding behind the tree. Funny draws his gun on Johnny, and at this exact same moment, Wekapipo is aiming the gun in Alternate World 1, and Diego is aiming the gun in Alternate World 2. The group of girls is present currently in Alternate World 1 witnessing Wekapipo, and the group of boys are present in Alternate World 2 witnessing Diego, and the artist remains in the root world witnessing President Valentine. The shots are taken, and the root world Johnny is down, following Sweet with his two alternate world counterparts and escaping into the storm drain. It is certain that Funny Valentine shot Johnny Joestar, but was he the true culprit? Is there even a quote-unquote true culprit? Well, let's keep going and we'll draw our conclusion to this mystery that has so many JoJo fans stumped. Part 8, the conclusion. This panel right here perfectly shows what I mean when I say that three worlds are merged and keep blurring into each other. This panel shows Diego and Wekapipo both shooting Johnny at the same time. We also see a collaboration panel of all three groups in the park reacting to the shooting all at the same time in their various alternate worlds. Of course, both Wekapipo and Diego did not realize that the other person was also shooting Johnny at the same time, and in the exact same location, due to the blurring of alternate worlds being seemingly invisible to the actual inhabitants of the worlds. So let's go over what we've discussed so far. Root World Wekapipo and the girls in the playground unknowingly entered Alternate World 1, Wekapipo fought off against Alternate World 1 Valentine, and the world was manipulated to then make him shoot Alternate World 1 Johnny. The Root World girls witnessed this. At the same time, Root World Diego and the groups of boys enters Alternate World 2. Diego faces off against Alternate World 2 Wekapipo, shoots him but is manipulated to have shot Alternate World 2 Johnny Joestar instead. The Root World boys witnessed this. Again, at the exact same time in the Root World Funny Valentine watches as an Alternate World Valentine hides behind the tree. As Wekapipo and Diego shoot alternate world versions of Johnny Joestar at the exact same time and place in alternate worlds, President Valentine shoots the root world Johnny. The girls were currently in Alternate World 1, the boys in Alternate World 2, so the only party left to witness Valentine's actions was the painter. This is where the confusion of the arc came from, as when Gyro questioned all three parties, all three of them all had different stories to tell, and this is why they fully believed their own stories to be completely true, as that is legitimately what they had witnessed. If you've managed to follow along so far, what conclusion have you come to? Who truly shot Johnny Joestar? What is the answer to the mystery? Well, there are actually two answers to the mystery, but it entirely depends on what question you're asking. Is the question really who shot Johnny Joestar? Or should you be asking who shot the most important version of Johnny Joestar? If you're simply asking who shot Johnny Joestar, the answer is all three of them. Wekapipo, Diego, and Funny Valentine all shot Johnny Joestar. Not one of those shootings were wrong, fake, or a trick. All three of those shootings happened, and all three suspects are guilty of the crime. However, if you ask who shot the most important version of Johnny Joestar, meaning the Root World Johnny, the answer is Funny Valentine. Of course, the story of the Steel Ball Run manga takes place predominantly within the Root World, as that is the one and only world where the Saint's Corpse exists, and the one and only world where President Valentine acquired the stand D4C. The Root World Johnny's goal is to stop Valentine from acquiring the corpse pieces, making the Root World version of Johnny Joestar the most important to the story of Steel Ball Run. The true culprit of the crime was all three of them, Wekapipo, Diego, and Valentine. However, the shooting with the heftiest and most meaningful implications to the story is the shooting of the Root World Johnny Joestar by President Funny Valentine. So really, the answer to this mystery really depends on the question you're asking. I hope I managed to make sense during this video and that you managed to understand. I did find this quite difficult to put into words for the script, but I did my best. I understand it's a lot of information to take in, so perhaps giving this video a second watch, or try reading the arc again after you've watched this video and see if it helped make more sense of the mystery. As I mentioned earlier in the video, if you do have any more questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them as accurately as possible. Of course, this is all just a reader's understanding of the Who Shot Johnny Joestar scenario. I deducted the answers by carefully thinking and analysing the manga panels and timeline, and by taking Funny Valentine's abilities into account, I deduced that the answers I came to are correct. As far as I can tell, Araki has never come out and straight up announced who indeed did shoot Johnny Joestar, so it's all down to fan interpretation. If you somehow came to a different answer to me on the Who Shot Johnny Joestar mystery, I'd love to hear it. Please feel free to pop it down in the comments below so myself and others can give it a read through. If you've watched this far, thank you so much for watching the video. If you found this video enjoyable and insightful, please consider giving it a thumbs up so I know it has been a useful video to you. Also, please consider checking out my stand analysis videos on both Tusk and D4C to get more insight on how they work. The annotations for those videos will be at the end of this one, and also links will be in the description. If you've enjoyed this video, then please consider subscribing to the channel for future Jojo content. I'm also working through every stand in Jojo over time and analysing them one by one in detail, so if you subscribe, you'll be able to keep up to date with my ongoing stand analysis series. To get notified when I release the next video, hit that notification bell and you'll be notified of its arrival. I appreciate you taking the time watching this video, but until next time, Bizarre Star Platinum out.